Level 0. The sound of nothing. The human ear doesn't know true silence. Not really, but in theory, this is where sound ends. 0 decibels. A complete absence of pressure waves. Stillness so profound, the air doesn't move, not even a whisper from the wind. You'd have to step inside an anechoic chamber, one of those ultra-engineered rooms where the walls are angled like origami, and swallow every sound wave before it can echo. Step inside, and the world disappears. No reflections, no feedback, just void. But your body keeps talking. You hear your own heartbeat, your joints creak. You become aware of the subtle hiss of blood pulsing through vessels in your ears. And it doesn't stop. In that silence, your brain gets anxious. It creates phantom sounds to compensate, a kind of neurological noise floor. Some say it's peaceful, most find it unbearable. Even in the wild, the deepest caves, the driest deserts, the highest mountaintops, something always hums. Total silence? That belongs to space, but space has no air. So technically, that's not silence. That's nothing. And nothing doesn't speak. Level 1 to 10 decibels. Sound on the edge of existence. You're in a forest at dawn. The wind is still. A moth flaps past. Leaves shift ever so slightly. Somewhere far off, a mouse adjusts its footing. These are the sounds that flirt with detection, barely measurable even by sensitive equipment. A human whisper, if soft enough, far enough, can come in around 10 decibels. But it's not consistent. You need total stillness just to hear it. A shift in your chair, and it's gone. Inside the average bedroom at night, with the AC off and windows sealed, you might hit 30 decibels, maybe lower. But the 1 to 10 range, that's sacred. The kind of quiet you can only notice when every other sound has left. And it's in that stillness that the human ear proves how remarkable it is. Because our hearing threshold is among the best in the animal kingdom, just behind owls and dolphins. Evolution honed our ears to detect predators and whispers in the dark. At 10 decibels, we're operating at the lower limit of that evolutionary gift. We don't hear this level, we feel it, not in the body, in the brain. Level 20 to 30 decibels. Whispered life. A calm room, no electronics, a soft voice across the table, the sound of a hand brushing against paper. These are the quietest environments humans inhabit without trying. Hospitals at 3 a.m., libraries before the crowd arrives, or the back corner of a monastery. Your ears perk up at this range, the brain leans in. This is the zone of attention. Meditation, focus, sleep, they thrive here. But even at this level, sound becomes personal. Because now, every person's sensitivity starts to differ. What feels peaceful to one might feel unnerving to another. Long exposure to this kind of quiet can calm the heart, lower blood pressure, let your cortisol, the stress hormone, take a break. The nervous system loosens its grip on your breath. Muscles slacken, thoughts stretch out. But turn it into permanence, and it can flip. Sensory deprivation kicks in. A dripping faucet at 25 decibels becomes maddening. The tick of a watch turns into a hammer. Sound, even gentle, has meaning here, and it demands your attention. That's the double edge of this range. Peaceful, but with no room for error. Level 40 to 50 decibels. The world resumes. You wake up. The fridge hums in the kitchen. Your dog yawns in the corner. Cars pass at a distance. This is the volume of normal life. Soft but steady. Not loud, not harsh, just present. At 40 decibels, you can hear yourself breathe. At 50 decibels, you hear someone else's. Most indoor environments hover right here. A quiet office, a small cafe, even a gentle rain outside your window, all within this comfortable bracket. You can talk without raising your voice. You can think without interruption. And if you're not actively listening, you can forget it's even there. But something interesting happens here too. Your brain starts filtering. You begin to tune things out. White noise generators operate around 45 to 50 decibels because that's the level your mind can learn to ignore. It blends into the background, fills the gaps. There's also a hidden layer of safety here. This is the highest range most experts recommend for places where focus matters: schools, offices, therapy rooms. Because beyond this, the brain doesn't just filter sound, it starts reacting to it. Stress levels rise. The fight or flight system edges toward alert. Stay here, you're fine. But keep going, and the body begins to pay attention. Level 60 to 70 decibels, the turning point. Now the sound isn't just present, it's part of your day. You're standing near a busy road, someone's vacuuming in the next room, a co-worker's talking on the phone a few feet away. You're not in danger, but you're aware. And that awareness, it costs something. At this level, your body starts to make adjustments. The heart rate ticks up, focus wavers. The auditory cortex, the part of your brain that processes sound, stays more active. Even when you try to tune things out, you're working harder to do it. This is the sound of cities, of crowded supermarkets, of people doing normal things at a normal volume, but with no escape from it. Most conversations land around 60 decibels. But if you're talking in a public space, you'll raise your voice, not to yell, but to compete. That's known as the Lombard effect, the subconscious urge to match background noise. Your speech gets louder, sharper, less nuanced. Your sentences shorten. You've heard it in restaurants. You've done it on public transport. And it's why open-plan offices are so draining, because even 60 decibels, when constant, pulls energy out of you over time. There's also another subtle impact. Sleep studies show that even noise levels in this range, when persistent, can affect REM cycles. Even if you stay asleep, your body registers the intrusion. The brain, always alert to danger, keeps one eye open. And that vigilance, it accumulates. Over months and years, long exposure to 60 to 70 decibel noise environments has been linked to increased stress, irritability, and even elevated blood pressure. Not because the sound is loud, but because your body never fully relaxes. So what's actually happening inside the ear? Sound is vibration, pressure waves moving through air, water, even bone. Your eardrum receives those vibrations and transmits them inward to the tiniest bones in your body. They amplify the wave, send it into the cochlea, a spiral-shaped organ filled with fluid and lined with thousands of hair-like cells. Those cells don't grow back. Each one is tuned to a specific frequency, like strings on a piano. They convert vibration into electrical signals, and the brain interprets that as sound. But even at 60 to 70 decibels, those cells can begin to strain. The vibrations are no longer gentle waves. They begin to hammer, softly, but repeatedly. It's not the volume alone that matters, it's the duration. 8 hours of exposure to 70 decibels won't rupture anything, but it will fatigue those cells. And fatigue leads to failure. Not tomorrow, not next week, but over time. Think of it like sandpaper, barely noticeable in one stroke, devastating in 10,000. And yet, this is still considered safe. Workplaces aim to stay under 70 decibels for good reason. Public health agencies say this level is the maximum for long-term exposure without requiring protection. You can sit in it, work in it, live in it, but safe doesn't mean silent. It means not immediately harmful. And that's the key to understanding sound. The danger isn't always in the spike. Sometimes it's in the hum, the ongoing background drone of existence, the subtle erosion of quiet. We're not designed to live in silence, but we're not built for endless noise either. 60 to 70 decibels is the crossroad. On one side, manageable, ignorable, forgettable. On the other, cumulative stress, auditory fatigue, sleep disruption. This is where sound becomes normal, and where normal starts to cost us. Level 80 to 90 decibels. The body starts to notice. Now sound moves from background to burden. At 80 decibels, you're near a busy intersection. A diesel truck accelerates, a kitchen blender kicks into high gear, you're on a lawnmower. These aren't fleeting bursts, they're steady, mechanical volumes. And if you're near them for too long, your hearing will remember. At this point, the cochlea's hair cells, the ones translating vibration into sound, begin to deform under pressure. Not tear, not die, just bend. But over time, repeated bending leads to permanent damage. OSHA recommends limiting exposure at 85 decibels to no more than 8 hours per day. At 88 decibels, the safe time is halved. For every 3 decibel increase, your safe exposure time cuts in half again. By 91 decibels, you've got 2 hours before measurable harm begins. It's not just ears either. The sympathetic nervous system begins to stir. Your body prepares for action. You get a mild adrenaline release. Blood vessels constrict slightly. Heart rate creeps up. It's not panic, it's pre-alert. Your body can't tell if this is dangerous, so it plays it safe. You start talking louder, not because you want to, because you have to. Background noise forces your voice to compete. In a loud cafe or airport terminal, your brain filters harder. You process slower. You're not just speaking, you're straining. You leave tired, not from activity, from sound. Level 100 to 110 decibels. Pain inches closer. This is where loud becomes aggressive. A nightclub in full swing, a rock concert near the speakers, a chainsaw in use, a jackhammer 20 feet away. Now you're in a world where the noise doesn't surround you, it punches through you. The ears don't passively hear this, they react. Acoustic reflexes engage, tiny muscles in the ear stiffen to protect the inner mechanisms. But they can't hold that defense for long, they fatigue. And when they do, every cell in the cochlea takes the hit directly. Just 15 minutes of exposure to 100 decibels is enough to trigger permanent hearing damage. At 11:0, it's down to under 2 minutes. There's also a deeper sensation, one of internal resonance. Your chest vibrates, bones rattle, you feel the sound in your ribs, in your throat. It's no longer just air pressure, it's a full-body experience. Tinnitus becomes likely here, the infamous ringing that never leaves, caused by damaged hair cells sending faulty signals to the brain. A sound that wasn't there, but now always is. This is also the point where your body releases stress hormones in real time. Cortisol rises, focus narrows, immune response slows, memory retention drops, because this volume isn't sustainable. It's a fight-or-flight simulation with no actual enemy. Long-term exposure here doesn't just risk hearing loss, it reprograms how you experience silence. Level 120 to 130 decibels. Pain begins, not metaphorically, biologically. Now we've reached the threshold of pain. You're next to an ambulance siren, a thunderclap overhead, a front row seat at a stadium, a jet engine roaring from 100 feet away. At 120 decibels, pain receptors in the ear activate. You wince, you recoil, your instincts scream to escape. The air pressure is intense enough to compress the ear canal slightly. Your eardrums flex violently with each wave. And if the source is sustained or close, you may experience a temporary threshold shift, a dulling of hearing that lingers for hours after exposure, but repeated shifts become permanent. What's happening is mechanical trauma. The sound waves now carry enough energy to push fluid inside the cochlea with such force that hair cells shear off. Not bend, not tire, tear, gone forever. Even brief exposure here leaves you stunned, foggy, disoriented. The body's balance mechanisms, linked directly to the inner ear, begin to misfire. You feel vertigo, you sway slightly, focus becomes nearly impossible. People exposed to this level often feel exhausted after, because it's not just sound, it's an assault on every sensory system linked to hearing. And there's something else, psychological aftereffects. Your brain, when hit by overwhelming volume, records the experience as a stressor. You may associate similar sounds with anxiety for years afterward. Not trauma, but imprinting. Volume, when intense enough, leaves scars deeper than the ears. Level 140 to 150 decibels. Eardrums rupture, the body begins to fail. You're next to a gunshot, at a shooting range without protection, near a firework launching, close to a military jet taking off. This isn't sound anymore, it's force. At 140 decibels, your eardrum is at the limit of what it can physically endure. Rupture becomes possible. A sudden pressure spike can split the thin membrane, causing immediate hearing loss, pain, and potential infection. Some will say they didn't hear the gunshot, just felt the pop. That's because the auditory system momentarily shuts down. You're not hearing, you're absorbing. The stapes, the tiniest bone in the body, can no longer dampen the vibration. The ossicles transmit raw power into the cochlea, and the cells die by the thousands. Even one unprotected exposure can leave you permanently deaf in one or both ears. And yet, that's not the full story. At this level, vestibular damage occurs too. That's your balance system. It sits right beside your cochlea. When those tissues swell or rupture, you're left with lingering dizziness, a sense that the ground isn't where it's supposed to be, motion sickness that doesn't go away. The mental toll is high. People with sudden hearing loss often report disorientation, nausea, and even panic attacks in the hours following exposure. Your body wasn't built to endure this. And for good reason. This is the sound of violence, of combustion, of controlled explosions. Nature never intended us to be this close. Level 160 to 170 decibels. Sound becomes weaponized. You're standing near a rocket launch, just beyond the exclusion zone. Or you're within blast radius of a controlled demolition. This isn't auditory anymore. This is full-body trauma. At 160 decibels, sound is delivered with shockwave velocity. You feel it in your gut. It slams against your chest like an invisible wall. Your clothes ripple. Your face distorts. The pressure is immense, not just through your ears, but across every surface of your body. People near rocket launches describe it like being hit with a wall of wind. Not warm, not cold, just fast. Your internal organs vibrate, teeth chatter, your eyes water involuntarily, and afterward, you're left shaking. There are military tools designed to operate in this range. LRADs, long-range acoustic devices. Used for crowd control, they emit focused beams of sound up to 160 decibels, causing pain, nausea, and disorientation at range. Not by damaging tissue, but by overwhelming the nervous system. In this zone, hearing protection is no longer enough. You need distance, barriers, structural insulation, because this isn't loud, it's dangerous. And you don't listen to it, you endure it. Level 180 to 190 decibels. Sound becomes a killer. This level doesn't warn you, it ends you. Underwater, a pressure wave from an explosive charge can reach these volumes, and that's where the real damage begins. Because in water, sound travels faster, farther, and hits harder. At these levels, even short exposure can cause lung rupture, intestinal tearing, and sinus explosion. You don't just lose hearing, you lose internal cohesion. In air, this level is rare, but achievable in specific scenarios. Industrial detonations, missile launches, supersonic shock cones, close proximity fuel-air explosions. The human body can't filter this, can't buffer it. Sound waves this intense pass through tissue, disrupting cellular structures. The eardrum may rupture instantly. The middle ear bones dislocate. But worse, barotrauma sets in. Organs compress. Air cavities implode. Blood vessels burst. Not from shrapnel. From sound, you might survive, but you won't remain whole. Level 200 plus decibels, theoretical maximum, and total obliteration. We are now beyond the edge of survivable acoustics. This is no longer the sound of life. This is the end state of vibrational energy in air. At 200 decibels, sound stops being a wave. It becomes a wall, a violent supersonic front of compressed air that carries more energy than a hurricane through a smaller space than a room. If such a wave occurred near you, say from a nuclear blast shockwave or a massive experimental charge, the sound wouldn't hit you, it would erase you. At these pressures, the molecules in the air are packed so tightly that the wave itself begins to ionize the air, stripping electrons from atoms. Sound crosses over into plasma physics. You wouldn't have time to process it. Lungs would be destroyed instantly. Capillaries vaporize. Soft tissue collapses. Bones shatter under pressure differential. No pain, no awareness, just immediate failure of every system. It wouldn't feel like sound. It wouldn't feel like anything. It would be pure force, delivered as vibration at the edge of physics. This is the sound limit, not of human hearing, but of air itself. Beyond this, you don't just lose your hearing, you lose your existence in a fraction of a second. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stuff coming your way.